Time for a visit with Charlie Renville. And Charlie is the father of Josh Renville, senior at Fargo North High School. And he's been kind enough to give us a few minutes here on the program this morning. Good morning, Charlie. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
We're doing excellent. Thank you. We appreciate your time. So this is something that was supposed to be just a quick little simple submission of a senior photo into the yearbook. And now it's gone viral, and people the world over are getting to know your family, Charlie, your son Josh, and the photo that has so many people talking. Are you surprised? I guess you probably have to be surprised at how much attention this has got, not only around the community, but around the nation and now around the world.
Yeah, totally. I was talking to people at work, and I'm like, if I thought it was going to be viral, or if I thought it was going to even go outside of Fargo Moorhead or just my friends and family on Facebook, I would have cleaned up my sentence structure and proofread my spelling a little better, but it did. It must have hit a nerve or something, and I think now it's over 1,800 shares. So, yeah, it's a little bit overwhelming. My phone's been ringing, and it's been interesting.
Well, we're glad that you took a few minutes with us, because it's always good to hear about these stories directly from the people involved and not listen to the third-hand reports and second-hand reports. So tell me, Charlie, how this all started. So Josh builds this rifle, and some will call it an assault rifle, some will call it a modern sporting rifle. Whatever you call it, we get the idea. It's not your typical hunting rifle. He builds this rifle and is proud of it. He put a lot of time and work into it, and he's going to be enlisting in the armed forces when he graduates from high school. And so for him, this is patriotism. Now, those who are probably the cynical side of this will say, this is just the Renville family trying to make a point and trying to stir things up. And there's been apparently some back and forth between your family and Andy Dallin, the principal at North, for a while. Can you clear up what the intentions were and how this all started, please?
Well, the original intention, my wife and Josh sort of took care of the picture stuff. I'm not that kind of guy. I just and Josh was getting pictures taken, and and he picked this one. It's one he likes. He likes the color. He likes the flag. He loves our nation, and we tried to instill that in all of our children. They have a great appreciation for America, and then he built that firearm. I don't think I could do it. The pieces were small, and he's precise, and he's a pretty detailed kid. He likes to do that kind of work, so he's proud that he built it. And that's all it is. It's a sort of a celebration of things he cares about and his hobby.
How is your son doing with all the notoriety from this? Is he being ostracized at school at all, or are they going, attaboy?
It's a little of both. Once it took off, I was like, Josh, I've always told you that we try to do what's right, not because it's the easy thing, but because it's the right thing to do. Not the popular thing, it's the right thing to do. And our kids are all pretty, strong. Well, he's a young man now, and all the older ones are good adults, and we've just tried to instill that in them. The local kids are giving a little bit of a joke. They're calling him the John Connor of Fargo, who's taken on the liberal machine, and that's not what this picture started out as, but it's morphed into a sort of a guns right issue, and I would challenge anyone to try to plan to do something like that. I'm not capable of planning to do that, and I never thought this would take off like this.
Charlie, you've mentioned in some of the news reports that this is the product of a grudge match or disagreement between yourself, your family, and the principal. Does this explain that? Why? What brought that up?
I actually take exception to that a little bit. It was sort of in the Forum article by Mike McFeely. He tried to say this is a revenge, and it's not. This is a response. I tell my kids, I try to live by this, that as citizens, we're responsible to hold our public officials accountable for their actions. And we can sort of detail a pattern or sort of a climate in the Fargo school district that seems to be, in our opinion, just our opinion, hostile to sort of the traditional conservative, maybe Christian views. And the big one is even the pro-life club that they started, last year. Look at the controversy, how the school district tried to fight that. And I get, detailed ones I could go into, with Josh over the last 4 years and the stuff that we've been called into the principal's office. It just seems to be a pattern. And if you look at my post, I said enough is enough. That's because I'm trying to highlight, to my friends and family that usually read my posts, not everyone, nationwide, worldwide, or whatever, but highlight to them that here's the pattern. Look at the things I've complained about in the past, and this stuff is happening. If someone in Fargo also sees this pattern, maybe they can highlight it for the school board and the local media, so it gets fixed. The sort of the light of truth seems to be a disinfectant for corrupt things, and that's all I've been trying to do. And after it took off.
Where is this at now? I understand that you have contemplated some sort of legal action and brought that to the principal, and they're rethinking this decision. Tell us where this is at right now at the school.
Well, I went up to I met with the associate superintendent Bob Gross, and they're trying to talk about that it violates federal law and state law. And I read the federal law to him, and the federal law is talking about actual physical weapons. And that's my contention. This is a picture. It's not, and a few years back, and it was actually in grade school, Josh was wearing an NRA shirt to school, and I told him that he couldn't wear that. And I'm like, well, that's, he's making his political speech now. He wore a Bush shirt back, in grade school years ago. And there was teachers that told him he had to take that off. He couldn't wear that. That's the kind of atmosphere that we're dealing with. And I can go into another one with his freshman year. They had a speaker in one of their classes. I can't remember which class it was, but they had the one that was sort of promoting the homosexual marriage and versus traditional marriage. And then they had a rape and abuse lady come in and told the class, and Josh took exception to this, that all men were rapists. And that was coming from Josh. And he's like, no, we're not. I am not. And the lady's like, you shouldn't be watching Disney. Like Beauty and the Beast promotes rape. And it does. It's a cartoon. And you can read into stuff. Well, what happened at the end of the class? A girl in there that identifies herself as a homosexual walked up to my son and punched him in the face. And I wasn't upset that my son got punched. I was more upset that the school and the climate in the school, they think that they can oppress other people's or physically attack other people for a different viewpoint. In school of all places, a free exchange of ideas should be celebrated. I just don't get that. And I was called into the principal's office, and they commended Josh because he didn't punch back or nothing. And he did grab her arm so she couldn't punch him, and the teacher grabbed her and threw her out of the class. But they weren't going to do nothing to that girl. And there's policy again. You physically fight someone. To me, it's a 5-day. Another person doesn't fight back. It's a 5-day suspension, and they weren't going to do it. They didn't even notify the resource officer, and that's another one of their policies. There's a fight or something, they're supposed to refer directly to the resource officer. We did that. I went down there and said, "Hey, Officer Ramon, this kid. My son was punched today." He took a picture of the bruise. Josh's eye, I think, had a scratch on it, so we had to go, take him to the clinic and they put eye drops. Again, he's a big guy. It didn't, hurt him, but to me, there's a climate there, and I think it's being brought down from some teachers. There's very good teachers there too. And Charlie, administrators that condones that.
Yeah, Charlie, when are you hearing that you might hear something back? When are you being told that you'll be getting some future communication from the school?
Well, I was supposed to hear by 3:30 on Friday. And I haven't heard nothing yet. And I'm hoping that they realize that, to me, this is political free speech. And, it didn't start out to be that way. It's just a kid with this hobby, no different than the yearbook pictures of kids with their cars, kids with their horses, kids sitting with a football helmet to me or whatever. And I hear people voicing concern about, with all the school shootings and stuff like that. But in America, don't we punish and hold accountable the people that are doing the actions? The drunk drivers, we don't punish every driver in America because there's, 5% or 2% or whatever the number of the drunk drivers. We don't punish everyone for the actions of one or two.
Yeah, Charlie, we appreciate it. You make some good points here. What have you heard from lawyers? Do you have a case if you want to take this to court, or do you feel like you'd be successful?
I don't know that, and we're not a rich family by any means, and we are. I can do the consultations, and some are sort of, yeah, you got a case here, and some are like, well, you might just be spinning your wheels, and it's. I have grandchildren, so I look at my grandchildren out here, and I feel like I have an obligation to make sure that they have a good world to grow up into, and I hope you guys in the media, investigate, look into North, look into the school district, see if if other people think there's a hostile environment towards kids of traditional values, and that, I don't want to suppress anyone's viewpoint. The kids that I don't agree with, or the teachers, they have the right to sort of live that in their individual life. But when it comes to their role as a teacher or the principal, they should be non-political.
Got it, Charlie. Yeah, hey, we appreciate the time. I wish we could talk with you longer, but we appreciate your time here this morning, and we'll keep your number handy here, and we sure appreciate you taking time to explain your side of this story. And I know that we've got a lot of listeners here this morning who are with you on this one, so we appreciate you filling in some of the details and some of the history here, and we'll be in touch as the week goes on, and once we hear a little bit more on that one. Charlie, thank you for calling us this morning.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
You too. That's Charlie Renville, father of Josh Renville, a Fargo North student who has been discussed a lot here in the newspaper and the news media over the last week or so, following that photo being denied by the school, saying that it promotes violence, and that photo is not allowed into the yearbook. And we'll see what the final chapter is on this here, as it may actually end up going to court.